Welcome to the Take Your Life Back Summit, your roadmap out of chronic pain, fatigue, and autoimmune disorders. And I'm your host, Dr. Heather Yost. You're going to get to meet a couple of dozen experts, doctors, and authors that are going to help you feel hope, find answers, and start healing. They're going to give you practical, workable information that you can actually put to use today. So it is with my extreme honor and excitement to announce Holly Bertone to the summit today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Yost. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to connecting with all my new friends out there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I do want to tell these new friends a little bit more about you before we dive in and chat back and forth. You are an author of 6 books, which crazy awesome. A blogger, health living advocate, and the coolest thing, I mean, breast cancer and Hashimoto survivor. You're the president and CEO of Fortitude, LLC, and you're a certified natural health professional and enrolled in a Naturopathic Doctorate program. You hold a master's degree from Johns Hopkins University, bachelor's degree from Elizabethtown College, and you're a project management professional. You're passionate about reaching out to breast cancer and autoimmune survivors, and also you also volunteer for organizations supporting our military veterans. In your free time, which I can't believe you have some, you love to garden, hit flea markets and yard sales. You're married to a retired Green Beret, your stepmother, and you live in Alexandria, Virginia. I actually chose you to be on the panel, personally chose you to be on the panel, Holly, because you're a passionate survivor of some of the most major health issues, and I might add, at a very young age. I think you have a wealth of information and you really look at things from so many different angles. So thank you again for being here. Oh, I'm excited.
And thank you for having me too. So I'm just as excited.
Yeah, you're welcome. Obviously I just read that you're a breast cancer and Hashimoto survivor, but can you tell us a little bit more about that journey?
Oh, sure. So, I was always, kind of healthy and active. I ran, races and Xterras, and, I ate what I would consider the standard American healthy diet. So, occasional junk food, but I kept a healthy weight and everything. So, I really took my health for granted. And at the age of 39, actually on my 39th birthday, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
On your actual birthday?
On my birthday, yes. I would have preferred a nice pair of earrings, but, cancer was okay too. And so I went through the standard, I had a lumpectomy on my right side to remove the tumor and some lymph nodes. And then I had chemo and radiation. And so, I plowed through that, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to, kind of get my life back and just, be back to normal again. And I kept getting sick. Like, I wasn't getting healthier. I was getting sicker. And, I expressed concern to my doctors, and the answer was always, your body's been through a lot. You've been through chemo. It's going to take some while for you to recover. And, and well-meaning. And I believed it. I mean, yeah, it was true. My, basically die inside for, months on end going through treatment and have to rebuild yourself. So, okay, yeah, I get it. But something didn't seem right. And I finally just kept pushing and pushing for answers. Finally, my primary care doctor did a blood test and found that I had hypothyroid and sent me to an endocrinologist. And then at that appointment was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And not really knowing, I mean, my mother has Addison's disease, so I'm, familiar a little bit with an endocrinologist, but, it was pretty much like, you have Hashimoto's, here's your new pills and have a good day. So I took my new pills. I'm like, okay, great, I'll start feeling better. And I just kept feeling worse. And I kept going back to him and just, not complaining, but saying, hey, I'm feeling horrible. And when I say sick, I mean fatigue, like cannot get out of bed, pain. It is so painful fatigue. Migraines that, I can barely see and function. Am I allowed to go a little too much TMI, as they say?
Yeah.
Trips to the bathroom 5 to 6 times a day, and I call them space shuttle launches. Epic GI issues. And, and all of my doctors, I kind of said the same thing. And it was 5 years that I was this sick. And I kind of said the same thing. I'd have good days, bad days, but, overall, my health was not great. And they kept kind of coming back to, well, between the cancer and the Hashis, your body's been through a lot. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But, and I don't know. At one point, I think I just gave up. Not because I'm a quitter, because, I have a job, I have a family, and I have a life, and I don't want to, be in the world of the boohoo. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have to be sick the rest of my life. And then, I don't know, at one point, it was probably about 2 years ago, I started to really do some reading on kind of natural, natural foods and just kind of really healthy, clean living. And then that's kind of where the big change happened.
So it was just a couple of years ago that you changed your life.
Yes. Yeah, I want to say probably just coming up on 2 years.
That's amazing. How long did it take with these changes for you to start to feel better?
Well, the first thing I did was to eliminate gluten. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those, I guess there might be a process. I just did it cold turkey, and I didn't even have a farewell meal. I'm like, okay, goodbye gluten.
No last supper.
No last supper, no. And sugar and gluten were pretty much the first ones that I just gave up cold turkey. I realized after the fact that I had some candida issues. Mm-hmm. And I think the sugar detox resulted, I had just a rash all over. So pretty disgusting, but I was like, wow. And, again, I'm not, I'm petite, I'm a healthy weight. It wasn't like I'm, shoving candy bars down my gullet 24/7. So the fact that all of this, candida and sugar was coming out of my body was just gross, but crazy. I'm like, wow, this was definitely something I needed to do. And I never looked back. Huh. And then about 2 weeks later, I went vegan. Now, I never really ate red meat, even as a kid. So I pretty much gave up all meats and dairy. The dairy, because of the Hashimotos. So, I know gluten and autoimmune don't really coexist very well. My doctor never informed me of that. I wish he would have. And then I kind of found out that dairy's along the same lines. And just with, just with not like humane reasons really, but just by the way of what the animals eat and how expensive organic meat is. So I'm kind of a pesco vegan, I guess. I'm not, I still like to eat fish and salmon, just especially for the omega-3s, which are really important. So that was kind of what I did on the nutrition side. And I would say it was probably a good 2 to 3 weeks where I really started to see kind of instant results. And, then a few months down the road, health really started to improve. I think due to the nature of between the chemo and also how long I wasn't being treated correctly for my Hashis, I think there was some severe damage that's still being repaired at a cellular level. I'm working with some new doctors and some very good doctors right now, and we're taking some good steps. So I'm still struggling, but it's definitely improving every day.
Who's been the most influential on your path?
2 individuals. First is my mother. I mentioned she has Addison's disease. She is 71, 72 years old right now. She was diagnosed when she was pregnant with me. Now, back then, the doctors really didn't know anything. These days, it's kind of, these days a smart doctor would say, to the child, just to, just to watch for
just wait
signs.
And watch and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. But back then they didn't really know anything. So I grew up with her being really sick, and she just embraced every single day, lived life to the fullest. I mean, just live life like there was no tomorrow. And so she's just been a true inspiration. And her kind of life word is fortitude, which is where I wanted to honor that with the name of my company, Pink Fortitude. Just because, on the days that, she was in pain and couldn't get out of bed and, just still had a great attitude about everything. So, so I really try to honor that. And then, my second was Dr. Amy Myers.
Yeah.
Because she, her book, The Autoimmune Solution, was the one that really spoke to me. I had been reading, but it was one of those, I think it was the right book at the right time. And, so I started following that, and she's still my health hero today.
She is amazing. I've read both of her books as well. Yeah, she's a wealth of information. When you were going through this process, because obviously a diagnosis of cancer is just maybe one of the most devastating things to hear, and to pull up and out of that, did you have a motivational quote or an affirmation that you would say regularly to kind of help yourself?
Not really a quote or affirmation. It took about a month of kind of going through the tears and the boo-hoos and the why me and the, kind of everything that a normal person goes through when they're diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. But at one point I just kind of realized that this is God's blessing for me, and I didn't understand it at the time. So not really like a quote or a mantra or anything, just kind of having that inner peace that things really suck right now, but it's all for the greater cause, and I just knew that something wonderful would happen on the other side.
Knowing that everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
That's huge. And I think with health, when we have blessings, we own it. When things come to us, it's so easy to own it and be like, yes, and that's something that's mine and I have and I earned. But I think we don't realize that challenges on the other end of it can be blessings like that, and can help us become our best version of ourselves. So we almost have to own that too, or welcome and accept those challenges. We push on them and push away, and I think it comes harder sometimes.
And that's what I try to do too, with my blog and, my books and writing and everything, is just, it doesn't have to be cancer, it doesn't have to be autoimmune. I mean, everyone has something that they're going through,
right?
And just to, really, what can I get out of the situation, and, try to be inspirational. Absolutely.
Tell us more about your blog, what's on it, how people can find it.
Oh, sure. It's called pinkfortitude.com, and it's really, it's home and family and healthy living. I call it for real people. I'm a busy person. I don't have a lot of time to cook and prepare meals. So the recipes are all really easy. They're all made with whole ingredients. I've got some fun DIYs. I've got some inspirational articles. Some homemade cleaning recipes. We've awesome. Totally eliminated all of the toxins, or, well, as many as possible from our home. So I have a lot of homemade cleaning recipes and just fun DIYs like that, and essential oils. And it's just, how to live a happy, healthy, lifestyle, really.
Right, because health is so much a multi-pronged approach. I mean, even on there, you have, I saw when I was looking on there, a cart or crate that you could use to organize your essential oils.
Yes.
That's crazy cool. Like, we forget all those, like, decreasing stress, organization, that actually positively impacts your health as well.
Oh, absolutely.
What would you say is the number one thing that you would tell autoimmune sufferers to do today? The top few things that you would say they should do.
I think I have a few. So number one would be to, I think, really just find your foundation and find out, kind of figure out where you're at and where you want to be. Obviously, I've been in that place, and, still am on some days that, I just really don't feel well. But if you need to commit to getting healthy, and you need to commit to taking those steps to get healthy, and those steps may not be comfortable, but they will get you there. And so I think just having the commitment and owning that commitment to help you move forward. I think most importantly is be your own health advocate. Our doctors are, they're well-meaning, first do no harm. I'm actually in school to become a naturopathic doctor, but at the same time, a lot of doctors are confined by, their own policies and insurance and things like that, and just don't have the breadth to be able to treat people and the time. So, you are your best health advocate, and you are your best doctor, and, to really do your research and work with your doctors to come up with the approach. And if something doesn't feel right, your gut never lies. If something's not right, it's probably not right, and feel free to question and push. And I think thirdly, and we talked about this a little bit, is just really in the darkest moments, find those blessings and just have that, even on the days you can't get out of bed or just you're feeling horrible, just wake up with a sense of gratitude and, focus on those blessings. And, I think they really all add up to, helping us be healthier.
I love those three. Own it, be your own health advocate, and just finding your blessings throughout everything. Is there any immediate dietary changes that people could do or that you would recommend for autoimmunity?
Everything that I've seen for autoimmune, I know that different doctors differ on different protocols, but the one thing that I've seen pretty much at 100% for autoimmune is to give up gluten. Mm-hmm. And all gluten products, the barleys, the malts, and I know there's a few others. And read your labels. You'll be surprised at what's in gluten. I actually just found out the other day that baking powder, not all baking powder, but yeah, there's some brands of baking powder that have gluten in it. So you'd be surprised, what has it. And I think that's kind of the very first, a lot of people, especially not severe, will start feeling, just like a whole new person immediately. And gluten stays in your system, from what I understand, up to 6 months. So it's not like, just one little piece of cake at Aunt Betty's birthday party. It's an all or nothing. So.
Absolutely. And I think people don't realize that it's not just one piece of cake. Like you get a piece, a bit, a lick, and it can set off your autoimmune disorder.
Oh, absolutely.
Put you in a flare.
And, and the other thing too is that, kind of throughout this whole thing, I think part of it just with, my GI tract and everything just being completely messed up, is that I ended up with a lot of food allergies and sensitivities. So, if you eat something and you don't feel well, don't eat it. Or, don't eat anything for a while and then introduce it and see if it does cause a reaction, like try to isolate it. And, if it's causing some kind of negative reaction, whether it's, a headache or acid reflux or, upset stomach or some kind of rash, don't eat it. That's your body's way of saying this is not good for you. So maybe at some point down the road you can reintroduce it, but really, your body tells you a lot. It's just, it's hard to listen sometimes, and it's hard to say, oh, but it's my favorite food. I still to this day miss pizza, and even, if I'm around it just to smell its wonderful deliciousness. But I look at it and I know that a slice, even a bite of pizza is not good health for me. And I just enjoy watching others enjoy it.
It's not worth the consequences at all.
Right.
You mentioned a really good point about there may be changes that you need to make. Mm-hmm. You may not be comfortable with it, but they need to just do it. And I think also I want to say, like, you may not be comfortable with these changes, but you're not comfortable now. So you can either put the work into where you are or the work into where you want to go. And the first step is the hardest. So sometimes just jumping and doing one simple thing, drop gluten, one simple thing, own your own health and know that this is your responsibility. No one's coming to save you, so to speak. Like, we need to own our own health. I think just one little step can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
How do you help people now? I know your blog, that alone is a wealth of information, but how else are you helping people?
So I'm going to school to, let me back up. So I really just took on this whole health ownership, probably to the nth degree, just because, I became really interested in healing myself. I mean, the more I learned, the better I got. So crazy how that works. So, and I realized that, I'm listening to all these podcasts and I'm reading all these articles. I should probably get credit for it. So that's when I enrolled in school to become a naturopathic doctor, and I'm hoping to graduate this summer and take and pass the boards. But at the same time, I'm not really going to be practicing. I really want to focus on my writing. I really feel that that's where I'm called to, in terms of writing books and my blog and just interviews like this, just being a health advocate, and maybe helping a few people, maybe a few clients on the side. But in terms of the talking about the books, the next kind of project for me in terms of helping others is a recent situation that I actually went through, kind of prompted me to realize that there's not a lot of resources out there for individuals who have autoimmune disorders in the workplace. And, when you have cancer, your hair falls out, you hear cancer, people feel sorry for you. And granted, there's a million horrible things that happen to people with cancer in the workplace. I'm not even, I'm not trying to negate that.
Well, no, you would know.
Right. But, coming into work with an autoimmune condition where the biggest probably two symptoms are fatigue and joint pain. I mean, not to lump them, but across all autoimmune conditions, those are probably two of the biggest ones. Right. And you can't see that. You can't see pain and you can't see fatigue. And, I think there's a lot of people struggling in the workplace with, maybe bosses that don't understand. And there's actually a lot of laws out there, which I researched. And so I'm putting together an ebook, just a short guide, maybe, 10, 20 pages on really how to navigate the workplace with an autoimmune condition, what rights you have, what laws you have, and also share some stories from some individuals that I've interviewed, just to help the people reading it know that they're not alone. I mean, having an autoimmune condition can be isolating. It's hard when people don't believe you and they don't believe that you're sick and they think that you're, lazy or faking it. And then you go into work and, so I just want people to realize that, you're not alone and, there are resources to help. And there are other people who have, been through this. And it's interesting because I have stories, actually both positive and negative, people who have had good situations, and also people not so much. So I just really wanted to be able to share that and relate with other people.
How can our listeners get access to that? I mean, it sounds like you're in the middle of the project, but how do they make sure they're a part of the launch?
So my website, pinkfortitude.com, and you can sign up for my email list, and I will be sure to notify you when the book is ready to be launched.
Do you have an estimated date?
This summer.
Great. Yes. Perfect. You have a free gift for all of our listeners. Could you explain a little bit more about that? Because I want to make sure everybody takes advantage of it. I do. It's so what I found through all my research is that a lot of wonderful doctors have a lot of really good protocols and health advice, but there's not a lot of kind of behind the scenes organizational behind the scenes organization. So my book is called How to Make the Transition to a Healthy Lifestyle. And while it does not, it does not showcase one protocol over another, it goes into the organization and the logistics of how to make it happen. So, let's say, for example, we were talking about gluten. I want to eliminate gluten from my diet. How do I start? Where do I start? How do I look at my pantry and figure out what foods to keep, what foods not to keep? And then, what about cleaning products? How do I, what do I need to look for in cleaning products? What are some of the chemicals I should look for? How do I know what brands are good? How do I make my own? So it's basically just one big guide of resources for your entire house on how to make that transition, regardless of what you want it to be. Great. That's awesome. As we sort of have to wind down just a little bit, I want to go through a couple of fun questions. I'm curious.
Oh, no.
If we were going to open up your refrigerator, what would be 2 items that we would always find 365 days a year?
Oh goodness. Well, my first and foremost is my I call it my Hashi's Hangover smoothie. It is my go-to every day. The recipe is actually on the website,
Okay.
thinkfortitude.com.
Okay.
But it is full of like really, really healthy antioxidants and some detox and anti-inflammatory and just all foods that are wonderful for healing Hashimoto's or any kind of autoimmune and keeping you healthy on a daily basis, and it tastes delicious.
Crazy cool. I can't wait to get on the website myself.
It's
I'll look it
always
up.
just, yeah, a container. And then lemons, because I don't know, I love lemons. They're like the perfect fruit, and I use them for everything.
You'll find lemons in my fridge too every day. What about if you were stuck on a deserted island and you were only allowed to have 2 products or supplements, homeopath, like what would you make sure you have on you?
Oh goodness. Okay, well, I think I'm going to go off a little bit and say my husband, only because he's a Green Beret. I mean, I love him and when I'm there, but I have zero survival skills. I would not have managed, back in the day on the prairie. So
he's your product.
Yeah. So he can help me stay alive. Has some good survival skills. And then I would think my Nutri Ninja, because I use that for everything. But then I'm thinking there's probably not electricity on the island.
I had somebody that's bringing a Vitamix no matter what. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, I'll be there with them. We'll find some electricity.
If it wasn't your ninja, what would it be?
I would say probably just because of my, with the Hashis, I'm on Nature-Throid, and the adrenal cortex is my favorite supplement.
Very good. Very good. Well, I have so enjoyed hanging out with you and chatting with you. I think you're such an inspiration. And like I've said, I think your story alone is going to give so many people hope that no matter where you are, at what age, that you just have to keep going, and that truly everything can turn into a blessing. And I'm sure you feel this way. I think our challenges guide us in a certain path to our greatness, like to doing the things that we love, being who we're meant to be. And it's crazy cool to think, that you're not in your 20s, but you're going, to be a naturopathic doctor. Like anything is possible. And you're very young, but I hear people that are, early 30s that wonder if they should go back to school. And I think,
wow,
anything is possible. So I guess I want to applaud you and just tell you, I think your story alone is so inspirational. I thank you for everything that you're doing for people.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you again for having me. And again, I really look forward to connecting with all the listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much. So everybody that's listening, folks, you have got to take advantage of Holly's free gift. You are not going to want to miss out on this. Thank you so much to Holly for coming and for being an expert on the summit. I truly appreciate it. Thank you to all of our listeners for being here. Make sure to watch out for more from me, Dr. Heather Yost, Yost Wellness Centers. This is the Take Your Life Back Summit. Take care, be well, and we'll see you tomorrow.